Irshad Manji er blogger, hun er forfatter, muslimsk reformator, lesbisk, troende muslim. Hun gjester Film fra Sør i Oslo nå. Hun ble kjent for mange med boka «Hva er galt med islam?». Nå er hun aktuell med en ny bok, Allah, Liberty and Love er titelen på den. Og så er hun hos oss her i Morgennytt. Vi ser her noen bilder fra et møte med livvakten til Osama bin Laden. Og could you tell us what kind of meeting are these pictures from?
Well, as you mentioned, that was Osama bin Laden's personal bodyguard. He lives in Yemen, Ahmed Nasser, and I was given access to him when I was filming my documentary, Faith Without Fear. And the reason, this is interesting, that the government of Yemen gave me access to this man is the government said he is no longer jihadi. We have brought him through a program that deprograms him, and so now you can talk to this very nice man who is not violent. But the interesting thing was, when I asked him, how do you feel about Sheikh Osama? He said, I love him. I do not want to be apart from him for 1 minute. And he pointed out to me that he's even training his young son, 5 years old, to become a shaheed, a martyr. So this government program that was supposed to work didn't. And it gave me the indication that there are a lot of things that governments in the Arab world are saying to the West, that they are cooperating with us so they can get our taxpayers' money. And we should be looking more carefully into where that money is going.
And this is part of the reason that you say that there is problems with Islam.
Yeah.
And what more would you say is the trouble with Islam today?
Frankly, the trouble is, and I realize that in a country like Norway this sounds very scary, but the trouble is Muslims. We Muslims. We are the ones who keep pointing fingers at America, at Israel, at Western colonialism, and I'm asking my fellow Muslims, as a faithful Muslim myself, of the 5 fingers that God has given us on one hand, which one are we also going to point to ourselves? By the way, this is very faithful towards the Quran by saying this. There's a beautiful passage there. God does not change the condition of a people until they change what is inside themselves. So I'm asking my fellow Muslims to restore faith with the Quran. And that's why I can write a new book that incorporates the concepts of freedom, of liberty, and of love, and brings it together with the worship of Allah.
So I guess you would say that what should be fought is fundamentalism, and how to do that.
The truth of the matter is it's more than just fundamentalism. It is also those Muslims who call themselves moderates, but who in fact I show in the new book are not very moderate at all. And this is not something new for Islam. Even in the 1960s, Martin Luther King Jr., the great civil rights activist, said to moderate Christians, start speaking up about segregation between blacks and whites, because this is happening in the name of your religion. And he specifically said, in a time of moral crisis, moderation is not the answer. You must be creative to the point where somebody will call you an extremist because of how much you love your faith, and this is why you are trying to reform it.
But how do you think it should be met or fought if you want to fight it?
Right. Well, I think the word is fight. There's nothing wrong with that word. From within, certainly, is Islam. More young Muslims need to have the courage to start speaking up to their parents, to their elders, to their so-called community leaders, even to politicians, that no, don't be treating us like children. Ask us questions, because we are your equals, and we can actually, have honest conversations with you. And non-Muslims need to be asking the questions that right now they're too afraid to ask. But if you join with reformist Muslims like myself, who are coming from inside of the faith, you will see that a movement actually can arise if you're not afraid of what other people will call you. This is what my film Faith Without Fear is all about, and I'm going to be screening it tonight at the Festival of Films from the South here in Oslo at the House of Literature. I welcome everybody to come at 6 p.m. and we'll have a very honest conversation afterwards.
Isn't this also often a question about education? And in countries like Pakistan, for instance, where you have so many of the madras schools taking care of the education, what about that?
Yeah, there is certainly a very big part of that is also the problem. But let us remember as well that the ringleader of the September 11th hijackers was a very middle-class, upper-class Egyptian who spent a lot of time in Hamburg, Germany, right here in Europe, also getting, education here. And somehow the appeal to the extremist ideology was also allowed to happen right here in this own continent. So yes, there are problems, obviously, no question about it, in Muslim majority countries. The question is, for us, why are we tolerating those kinds of mentalities in a free and democratic part of the world? And remember that it doesn't just affect non-Muslims. In the case of 9/11, it affects the human rights of many Muslims like myself who are saying, you can't impose your extremist ideology on me. And yet mainstream politicians continue to go to those who defend these extremists in the moderate Muslim community as if they are my representatives too. They are not.
We could talk about this for very much longer,
Well,
but I'm afraid our time is out. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.